Hey guys, I'm going to go over your social studies work for day 5 in your packet. So today's assignment was to read about Dr. Seuss and then answer some comprehension questions on the back. So I'm going to read the passage to you and then we'll go over our questions on the back of it. So this passage is about Dr. Seuss. So there were some vocabulary words up at the top. So one of the ones that I wanted to point out was author. We know an author is someone who writes stories. So Dr. Seuss, we all know, was a very famous author. So this passage is about him and all of the books that he writes. So I'm going to read this to you. Follow along with me. Let's learn about Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss was born on March 2nd, many years ago. When he grew up, he became an author. He liked books a lot and he wanted children to read books. Dr. Seuss wanted to make it easy for children to learn to read, so he wrote books just for them. He wrote 46 books in all. He wanted the books to be fun, so children would like to read them. He wrote silly books and funny books and made them all rhyme. He wrote cat books and hat books. He wrote dog books and frog books, and fish books and wish books. He wrote books about Sam and about green eggs and ham too. It is a lot of fun to read his rhyming books. Dr. Seuss wrote many books and helped many children learn to read. Now, on March 2nd, we always remember Dr. Seuss by reading lots of his books. Which Dr. Seuss book is your favorite? So on the back of our paper, we had some text questions to answer. Let's see if I can try to make this a little bit clearer. Okay, so some of the questions we had to answer were, number 1, what did Dr. Seuss like to do for kids? I wrote, Dr. Seuss liked to write books for kids to help them learn. Now, notice how I wrote my sentence. I wrote it in a complete sentence, but I also restated my question, right? We always want to restate the question so that whoever's reading our sentences knows exactly what we're talking about. So Dr. Seuss liked to write books for kids to help them learn. Number 2, describe the types of books Dr. Seuss liked to write. I wrote, Dr. Seuss liked to write silly and funny books that rhymed. Number 3 said, what are some things Dr. Seuss wrote about in his books? So we know that Dr. Seuss has lots of books. We read lots of them in class, but some of the ones that he wrote, I wrote down. Dr. Seuss wrote about cats, hats, dogs, that should say dogs. Even teachers make mistakes. Dogs, frogs, green eggs and ham, and more. So the second part of this worksheet asks you to do some thinking questions. So these ones were all just things that you could have found inside of the reading passage. Number 1 and 2 down here are asking you to really think about your answers. So it says, why do you think that Dr. Seuss books helped kids to learn to read? So if I'm going to answer this question, first I'm going to think about why I think Dr. Seuss' book helped kids learn to read. So I know that his books are really fun to read. They're funny, they rhyme, they have lots of easy words. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to restate my question. I think his books helped kids to read because they rhyme and have a lot of easy words. Okay, number 2 said, which book is your favorite Dr. Seuss book? Why is it your favorite? Now, obviously, my answer is going to be a little bit different than yours because everybody has different likes and dislikes. But my favorite Dr. Seuss book, I think, is Green Eggs and Ham. So I'm going to say my favorite Dr. Seuss book is, I'm going to put this in quotation marks because I know that this is the name of the story, Green Eggs and Ham, because I love reading like characters. I love doing that in class, and it is so funny. Okay, so notice that whenever I answered these questions, I made sure to restate what the question was asking me, and I gave a full and complete sentence. I also used uppercase letters for Dr. Seuss's name because that's his name, it's a proper noun, and I also have punctuation at the end of each of my words. When I was listing the answers for number 3, instead of saying cats and hats and dogs and frogs, right, I used a comma because I know commas can help me to list things. So if you got your answers for the first 3, if they kind of match mine, great job. The last 2, those are more your opinion, but make sure that you have all 5 questions filled out. Great job.